Alright, welcome to our video podcast part 1 on how to score the GMADE for a TFR course. And the first part of our podcast is going to be focusing on getting the raw score on the GMADE and organizing it in a chart. So we had a session 3, about a month ago on how to do this, and I felt like it was so long ago that it would be helpful for you maybe to have a video podcast reviewing the basics of GMADE for TFR. The number one thing I want to remind you is you have until December 1st, which is our next seminar, to administer GMADE to one class this time. And that's the class you're going to work on and follow through our course. The scores have to be organized in charts, and that's what we're going to go over today so that we can use that during our seminar December 1st. So the scores have to be also done before December 1st, okay? So let's start with a raw score. So the raw score are going to be organized in a chart that you can find in your book. So if you are a 7th or 8th grade teacher, you can find the chart to organize the raw scores from your student from page 64 to 75. 64 to 75. And it looks like that. Okay, and there are 3 different kind. From 64 on through 67, you can find chart for the concept and communication diagnostic analysis part. On page 68, 69, 70, and 71, you can find operation computation diagnostic analysis. And on 72, 73, 74, and 75, you can find empty charts for process and applications diagnostic analysis. Of course, you can make copies of this chart if you don't want to use the original in the book. I would recommend that. And for one given class, of course, you can have a chart for the concept and communication, for the operation and computation, and for the last one, for the process. So you should have 3 charts per class as long as your class is not too big and you can fit all the student names right there. If the class is bigger and you cannot fit all the student names in one chart, of course you're going to have 2 charts per part of the test. So that could be up to 6 charts total for raw scores. There is an example on page 60. Again, the page numbers I'm giving are for 7th and 8th grade. For the 6th grade books, you can find the same chart, but the page is slightly off. But I'm sure you can find that. So on page 60, in the M manual, you can find an example of a chart completed. I want you to notice the student names are right there, the teacher name, the date the test was administered, the grade level, of course. This example is actually not really good because the teacher marked the wrong answers with a little X or a little cross, which we would not want you to do so that you can use student error. So instead of a little cross right there on X, it would be much better to write the letter of the wrong answer. Therefore, you're going to be able to do some error analysis later on. Here, you record a number of right answers for each student. Basically, you're counting the number of wrong answers and you're subtracting that from the total to get the number of right answers. At the bottom of the chart, for each question, you're going to also record the number of incorrect answers and the number of correct answers, as well as getting the R value, which is the percentage of students who got that answer right in your class. And that also is going to be very important when we're going to look at specific questions that were more difficult for your class. So the raw scores are going to help us determine questions that were harder, type of errors, and help us group students maybe around certain type of mistakes, things they can work on. So it's a fairly easy chart, I think, to complete if you do it well. At the top, you can also see the R score nationally for a given class so that you can compare that to the R score for your class for that question. So for example, in Mr. Storino's class right here, 85% got question 1 right, and that's against 82% nationally for an 8th grade class. So that helps in knowing and comparing that. Okay, so again, you will find the blank charts in the book For the M manual, page 64 through 75, there are 3 different charts, 1 per section of the book that the student used to be tested. And so if your class is not too big, I can tell you have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. Looks like we have about 25 lines. If your class is below 25, 1 chart will be enough per section. But if your class is a little bigger, you may need to have 2 charts per section, so up to 6 charts to be completed for raw scores. Alright, I hope that helps. And don't hesitate to email me questions about that, and I'll be glad to answer.